This is Mary Jane Lovett. I chose to do my activist project on abuse against undocumented immigrants in the USA. As you have seen in the media, this is currently a huge problem in our country with long-term implications. We currently have over 1,600 detainees that are being moved by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement into federal prisons due to the severe overcrowding in the detention centers, the majority of which are in Texas, and there are many reports coming out from these detention centers about the guards abusing and neglecting detainees. The majority of our detainees in this country are from Mexico. There are some also from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. Widespread reports include neglect, abuse, and violence. These are coming firsthand from undocumented victims. You can read about these issues in very reputable publications such as the New York Times and the Washington Post. The neglect reports include individuals not being fed properly, being given food that has spoiled, being given dirty drinking water, which is making them sick, not receiving proper medical attention. There is sexual violence being reported, abuse. The victims are having their ethical rights violated, cultural rights are being violated. One example I read was a indigent woman who was being forced to strip in front of the guards and shower while she was experiencing her menstruation period that month. This goes against her cultural norms and her religion. So this would be considered a violation of her rights under the UN. So summary of the activity. I chose to write to my elected officials to demand social justice for these detainees. I said that separating families must stop immediately, and the individuals who are detained currently must be treated in an ethical, humane way, and I called for families to be reunited immediately. I'm not sure how successful this communication was because I did not receive a response yet, so I don't know how my readers reacted. The only challenge I faced with this project was the research. There's an overwhelming amount of information about undocumented immigrants and their plight. One could easily spend weeks reading about this important social justice issue. If you drill down into micro level issues, you could read about this for months, especially when you incorporate the issues impacting children who have been separated from their parents. One area of interest for me would definitely be to flip that coin and the impact on the parents whose children have been taken away. How that is going to impact their mental health, both short-term and long-term research is certainly warranted for both adults and children affected in this country. So how did it feel? It felt powerful for me to participate in this activist activity. I felt like I was able to do something, no matter how small of a step it may be. It felt good to take action, and I felt that was meaningful. I learned a great deal during my research about undocumented individuals. There's so much more to this human rights conundrum than what is reported by the press. You really need to drill down and examine even the micro level social work issues. They're being created and perpetuated by this, which is a macro level social injustice. So as social workers, my takeaway is that we must take action. We must organize. We can make a positive difference on all levels of practice, no matter what you do, whether you write a letter, you send an email, you protest with a sign, there's many things you can do to participate. Implications for social work practice. We have to look at the NASW Code of Ethics, and we know that we must advocate for the dignity and worth of these individuals. We must be of service to those in need. We need to work with policymakers and our elected officials to create change at the macro level to ensure social justice. We are charged with integrity, to act at all times with integrity and competence during our work in the field. My recommendations, basically, individuals they deserve humane and ethical treatment while being held in the centers. They have both human rights and legal rights, which are separate issues, that all of their rights are currently being violated by our government. My second recommendation, based on my research, is families must be kept together at all times. This will lessen the trauma experienced by everyone involved, certainly the children and adolescents. The Human Nations top human rights official recently called for, quote, an immediate halt to a practice that he condemned as abuse when he was referring to the separation of parents and their children. The majority of my references came from the New York Times, Washington Post, and I also looked at many websites. I did look at the UN information, their Committee on Human Rights. I looked at all of the information posted by our own government, and then I looked at independent opinions as well, and re-examined the NASW Code of Ethics. Thank you so much.